The topic that's coming up more frequently is Gen Z. A lot of more traditional leaders are coming to us and saying, these Gen Zs, I don't know how to lead them. I don't know how to talk to them. I don't know anything about them. I read a fact that 54% of Gen Zs will want to run their own business.
But is it that they want to run their own business, or is it they want that perception of autonomy, control? And instead of being entrepreneurial, should we, as leaders and business owners, be creating an environment where there's intrapreneurialism within our businesses?
Welcome to the How They Lead podcast, hosted by Benjamin Wade and Ben Stocken. This podcast is dedicated to exploring the world of high performance, showcasing examples of how individuals and teams can reach their full potential.
Together, they'll be inviting amazing guests who have defined or represented high performance in their own right. From world record breakers to individuals who have achieved first in their fields, the How They Lead podcast will showcase a diverse range of guests, each with their unique stories and insights to share. So join us as we challenge traditional ways of doing things, explore new ideas, methods and possibilities, and evolve the way people perform.
Hey everyone, and welcome to a second episode of Ben and Ben talking about the state of leadership development and what we're seeing in businesses we're talking to, customers we're working with, trends. The lot. We're talking to lots of potential customers right now. The whole team are. And they are coming to us with a bunch of challenges, opportunities. Some are reactive, some are proactive. Where do you want to start?
Probably the most common question that's asked of us.
Are you an outdoor business?
Probably the second most common question that's asked about us.
Okay. We're not an outdoor business, everyone.
We're not. We like the outdoors.
We love the outdoors. Where are you going in June?
I'm going to keep that a surprise.
Okay. I can't talk about where Ben is going in June. Maybe we'll do episode 3 of Ben and Ben. Talk about the top. Okay, the top. Sorry. We'll talk about leadership development and people performance now. So, What's the topic? Yeah, what's the topic?
The topic that's coming up more frequently is Gen Z. A lot of more traditional leaders are coming to us and saying, these Gen Zs, I don't know how to lead them. I don't know how to talk to them. I don't know anything about them.
Yeah.
So I think it's only fair to maybe look into that a little bit more.
Yeah.
And see what we know.
I love the labelling. So I was speaking to an existing customer a couple of weeks ago. And the language that they had heard one of their leaders using was, I'm going to get my Gen Zer to do that. And it made me really reflect on labeling. So Gen Z are born 1997
to 2012.
2012. So very much in the workforce right now. And I think some of the stats I've seen in the next 5 to 7 years are going to make up something like 50% of the workforce. And as a group, as a demographic of individuals, have had a very different experience in terms of later stages of education.
Yep.
I mean, a lot of the later stages of their education coming into just before the world of work is likely to be affected by COVID.
Financial crisis, 2008, Black Lives Matter.
Yeah.
They've had some pretty pretty significant global events that have been almost standard for them.
Yeah, like global war, wars around the globe, and different macroeconomic conditions, being locked down, pandemics, and then a complete change in terms of how education is being delivered. So what does this mean for leaders? What do leaders need to do to enable the performance, the well-being of this next generation in the workforce?
I think they have to be open, don't they? If we've got a generation of leaders who might be of a slightly older generation and know what has worked well up until now, they need to be more open and look at the positives and the benefits of having a generation coming through who are resilient, and they like that transparency, and they're not afraid to ask questions.
Yeah.
Maybe question authority sometimes, but that keeps us on our toes. But just asking the questions is surely going to be beneficial when it comes to high performance and looking for solutions that are going to work, that have been tried and tested and questioned by the Gen Zs coming through.
Yeah,
embracing that, I think.
It's interesting because you've got business leaders, business owners in a marketplace where people are having to work maybe 120% to get 100% kind of productivity. Whereas if you go a year and a half, 2 years ago, you know, businesses were flying because of the rebound after COVID. And I think I've certainly heard some sentiment around, wow, like this generation coming into the workforce, they're a bit needy. We don't have time to answer these questions. I just need them to dig in and like kind of get shit done. The reality is what that's going to do is that's going to lead to a talent shortage in your business, brain drain, a lack of autonomy. So I think that there's a moment of really understanding what's driving this younger generation coming into the workforce. And then as a leader, tapping into how to get the most out of that person as an individual. Now, we could talk about situational leadership. We could talk about giving trust rather than earning trust. But I think there's a really important thing here about understanding people's personal values and what they want to get out of work.
Personal values and a personal skill set, because they've been raised in a digital age, which has only got to be a benefit for a business that's looking to potentially move into that more digital focus or platform or way of working.
Yeah.
And we're not tapping into that enough, I don't think.
Okay. So, I mean, that's only going to grow, isn't it? And I think, you know, we've been speaking to some leaders who reactively have come to us and said, we've got a bit of a problem. I don't know. I don't think this group of people know how to work, which is, again, a really interesting symptom. I don't think it's the root cause. I think it's the symptom. You know, as a CEO of a growing business, called me up and said, I need some help with my Gen Zers. They don't know how to actually work. I need you to teach them how to work. To which my answer was, what do you think the reason is behind that? What do you mean by that? What are you seeing? Like, what's going on? And the reality was, actually, their onboarding was really poor, and they hadn't really understood how to upskill a bunch of people who were coming into the workforce, slightly different agenda than just making a load of money, really value driven. But also the group of people, when I asked him to go back and talk to these new employees, they'd kind of done university or school completely remotely, pretty much in their final year. And then they're in an office environment.
Well, I think that's what's driving the request for flexibility as well, which is either unheard of or hadn't been seen in some businesses. But now that is expected to be the norm. And I think that's what people don't potentially like. They haven't got the trust there or in place. They haven't got the control mechanisms, and they haven't got the processes formalized to allow people to work that flexibly. So what are they doing when they're at home? On these Gen Zers, they're just staying in bed. They're not working effectively. But actually, they just want a sense of purpose and the pay to almost coexist, and then flexibility not to come at a cost.
Okay. I have a challenge with that.
Okay.
I have a challenge with that.
I have a challenge.
I think this comes back to the kind of the in the office or the return to office versus, you know, those businesses that said a couple of years ago, you will never need to come back to an office. And I know of two large businesses in different industries in my friendship circle, where they've said to all of their employees, you now need to be in the office 3 days a week. So they've done a complete U-turn. And I think it was Dell, no lawsuit, Dell, if I'm wrong. I think it was Dell who recently published that people need to come back to the office if they want to get promoted. So they can carry on working remotely, but they won't be promoted, which is not the greatest messaging from my perspective, in terms of, like, if I was someone working at Dell and I was really, you know, cared about my career and progression, literally every recruiter on the planet is now talking to people at Dell and being like, are you working remotely? You know, because if so, we can find a job where you can get some career progression. So I think that's going to hurt them in the short, medium and long term. But my point was going to be, actually, on the topic of Gen Z, can people learn the skills they need to learn in a new career virtually, or do we need to be in an office together and have that learn by osmosis, those accidental conversations, and kind of be in earshot eyesight of, you know, high performers in your business to learn really well? Or can you do that virtually?
That's 3 questions. We'll ponder that, because I've got a challenge with your challenge. Okay, so I think we'll answer those questions. So when I said flexible or flexibility, we went down the route of working from home. Is that an issue with some of the leaders out there who think flexible means must work from home or have to work from home, as opposed to having flexible options? So in the office 4 or 5 days a week, but actually just allowing people to go off at lunchtime and take a break, look after their wellness, develop themselves, leave at 3 to pick up children, potentially. Some Gen Zs are now 27 years old. So yeah, having children or other things in their life that are just as important. Not necessarily working from home, but just having that flexibility in the way that they work.
Yeah, I think I fell into your trap massively. But I think I fell into your trap because I'm trying to project myself into the mind of a business owner, a CEO, an HRD, CPO, etc., and thinking like, what is flexibility? And I guess you're right. Ultimate flexibility is work anywhere, anytime, just get the job done.
Yep.
There's full autonomy, delegate, you achieve what you need to achieve, and we're golden. I think the reality is that when probably our audience and leaders and customers of ours are looking at flexibility, they're looking at flexibility probably on 2 areas. One is location. Are you working remotely? Does that mean Bali and Vietnam, or does that mean from home and you're not commuting into the office? Or does it mean work anytime? Mm-hmm. And I think from a leadership perspective, there's a challenge there. I think from an early stage employee who needs to learn their craft. And then there's a separate challenge with later stage, higher skill, longer tenure employee who actually, may benefit from not being in the office all the time. Mm-hmm. But I think the problem is if you've got earlier stage, maybe Gen Z employees who I would argue the time we have in the office as a business, we learn the most from each other. There's an opportunity to collaborate, the opportunity to agree and disagree and commit and have conflict. But ideate, we probably do our best work, creative work together, but then we have the benefit of that time apart. If you've got earlier stage employees who don't get access to that, and it's all quite staged on Zoom and Teams calls, then I think they won't necessarily develop as fast. But also, if you say to earlier stage employees, you need to be in the office to learn, and your later stage employees, you're saying, you've got it, you would benefit from more time away, then the earlier stage employees might as well not be in the office because no one's in the bloody office.
And is that a conundrum because we are not Gen Z and we think you have to be in the office to learn, whereas actually Gen Z is globally connected. They've been born and been brought up through an era that is full of, global connection is the norm. Learning online. We used to watch cartoons. It's now YouTube, for example, or online learning, online screen time.
Yeah.
So that is the norm for them. So is it us trying to shoehorn our approach onto them? Do we need to find that happy medium? Or as businesses try and increase that remote learning, they just are not set up in the right way, the right styles for that personalised approach?
Yeah, great question. I find, I'm not Gen Z. I'm going to shock you. Okay, I'm not Gen Z, but I get lots of my learning from YouTube. So podcasts, YouTube. I probably go straight to YouTube almost before Google now. I'm like, how do I do this? There's going to be someone that's put a video out there. The problem with that is there's a lot of crap on YouTube.
Probably more.
There's a lot of
more crap than
there's a lot
useful video.
There's a lot of crap on YouTube. So if we're saying that actually we're going to go and learn from YouTube, then actually I think we risk people not learning how to do their roles really, really well or tasks really, really well, because they're not going to learn, for us, they're not going to learn the West Pak way, which is tried and tested. We've made the mistakes. We can fast track the learning. So if we said to a new hire in the team, like Fran, for example, if we said to Fran, go and learn how to be a world-class facilitator from YouTube. I think she'd get there for sure, but I think it would take longer. And I think we would not necessarily see the results that we know work. Whereas if we said, Fran, go and spend some time with Jo, observing her delivery, giving her some feedback, and then flip that, she'd develop way quicker.
It's difficult, isn't it? Because I read a fact that 54% of Gen Zs will want to run their own business in their lifetime, far more than any other generation that have come through. So they want autonomy and control over their own destiny and their own way of learning. So
here's an interesting one. Is it, and I agree with that, and I think that's great. Like actually, my kids are going to be whatever the generation after that is. So are yours. And I want them to experience owning and running their own business. We do that. It's super rewarding. But is it that they want to run their own business, or is it they want that perception of autonomy, control? And instead of being entrepreneurial, should we as leaders and business owners be creating an environment where there's intrapreneurialism within our businesses?
Yes, I think so. And I think that is the issue, that we don't like to relinquish that control. We don't like to delegate, or we haven't got the tools or techniques to delegate. We've never really done it effectively before. I say that's the challenges that we're seeing from some of our clients. That trust isn't there because people are working flexibly, working from home. So it all builds into this issue that we can't delegate effectively, and we can't or don't want to allow others to do the job that we think we can do as well or better.
Yeah. I think there's another thing playing in here, which is really poor learning management systems.
Yes.
So learning management systems that are basically like, we have basically emptied a box of ideas and learning, and we've put it into this platform where you can go and learn everything. And it's all self-driven, self-guided. You get your virtual certificates, etc. It's very popular. It's very easy to purchase, and you think you've done L&D, you've done leadership development, or you've done onboarding development. And we know the reality is the customers come to us, and one of the first things they say is like, what are your values? What are your business values? How are they translated into the day-to-day actions of leaders in your business, but also employees in your business? And the further you go away from CEO, MD, the more diluted that gets. Mm-hmm. And so one of the areas we really focus on is making sure that the leadership behaviors mirror the values of the business, the mission, etc. And in their day-to-day role modeling, they're able to do that. If you're saying just go and learn through an online platform, again, there's no check and challenge. There's no positive conflict. There's no ideation. I'm there on my phone, on the tube, learning situational leadership. And I don't have anyone, when I have a question, I don't have anyone to say, Ben, is my thinking right around that? Or is it crap?
And that's one of the blockers we see in terms of effectively working with Gen Z, is to personalise your approach for them. And that is a non-personalised approach, isn't it? That's a one-size-fits-all. But actually, to be effective and collaborate with Gen Z, we have to be more personalised in our approaches. That could be onboarding. It could be an LMS system, or even how we deliver effective personal development and professional development as well. It can't be a one-size-fits-all anymore. It has to be personalised.
Yeah, so to come to some conclusions on this and some advice for leaders around a core topic right now, which is how do we make the most that's provided to businesses to get a competitive edge through the next generation in the world of work. This is really complex because you've got to understand at an individual level someone's values, their drivers, how to get the most out of them. You've then got to try and scale that at a team or a business level. So you've got the individual, you've then got the team level. How do we cater for individuality within the world of work, whilst also having consistent processes, behaviors, expectations, etc. And then you've got, I guess, like a leadership. You've got to rewrite your internal code in terms of your expectations of those people and how you're going to access them. Because if you've got people working in the office, people working remotely, people in different locations, different time zones, you as a leader, you've just got a hell of a lot going on.
Although thinking back to all of the high-performing teams and businesses that were supported, nurtured and developed, 90% of what you've just said actually applies to them as well. Yeah. Understanding your team, their motivating values, personalising your approach, giving them feedback, mentoring, coaching, having regular check-ins and one-to-ones, all that is applicable for Gen Zs, but also applicable for anyone in your team.
Yeah.
There's actually not too much difference when you really dig down into it.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think when we're onboarding a customer and bespoking, they're bespoking, is that a word? Yeah. And we're bespoking. We are creating a bespoke version of our Summit Leadership Program. I think that reverse engineering of asking them, really probing deeply in terms of what they want to achieve from the program then allows us to reverse engineer that to make sure that we are hitting all of those things in the right order, which I agree with you is it largely, when we look at it, the content and the order of that content and how we embed that learning and then support those leaders for the 12 months afterwards, to make sure it's embedded where the rubber hits the road, when they're doing one-to-ones and having critical conversations on a day-to-day basis. It is very similar, and it's probably coming from that almost servant leadership angle, which is almost forget about what I want to achieve and think about enabling the other person, whatever demographic, whatever generation that person is from. It's that personalized leadership approach, which is why you need to have a contemporary leadership skill set.
Well, I read a white paper recently, and there were two main things I took away from it. And one was that for Gen Z, L&D needed to be incorporated into their development from day one, not as an afterthought. So that was a real benefit for people coming into a business to see that L&D was at the forefront of what needed to be achieved. And then secondly, were the common challenges that Gen Z were seeing or wanted to be developed in. And it was what we used to class soft skills. Mm-hmm. So having those difficult or critical conversations, effective communication and teamwork, because they are areas that they didn't get a chance to develop because they were working from home through the lockdown, for example, and it was this remote working. So those skills have almost been diluted, whereas we, working in the office and always being able to develop them, we're probably better set up for those areas, whereas they're not. Mm-hmm. But actually, that's common in any team that we support, isn't it? Having difficult conversations, one-to-ones, critical conversations, getting through conflict or conflict management. We see that so regularly as well.
Yeah, completely. And I think we're also just kind of coming on to kind of a next topic a bit. There's been a bunch of businesses that have reached out to us, which is fantastic. It's always lovely to have businesses say, heard about the work that West Pak have done. Can we have a conversation? And it's been at that exec leadership level. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the requests have been, we need strategic thinking, critical decision making. We need that exec level curriculum, which is important and correct and strategic. But actually, when we do the training needs analysis, the fundamentals are not necessarily in place from a consciously competent perspective. And so actually, one of the things that I've been pushing back on a lot is, yes, we can get there with the strategic stuff.
We need the foundation first.
Yeah. We need to build those foundations, and those foundations need to be role modeled day to day by those execs. Because if they're not role modeled day to day, face to face, on Zoom and Teams calls, etc., then we're not giving the rest of the employees within that business an opportunity to observe and say, yeah, do you know what? That's how I should behave in that scenario. If I'm on a Teams call with a client and I observe your behaviors, I'm like, right, I can take something from that. Mm. And so there's that curiosity piece that I think is really, really important at a leadership level and at a leadership education level, of just always being curious and always thinking, right, how can I harvest the most knowledge and opportunity to get better?
And that's a great point almost to end on, because 20% of the workforce by 2025 will be those curious Gen Z people. So they're not going to be afraid to question. So you almost lead by example. If you're going to be this more curious leader, then actually you've got a workforce who are curious.
Yeah.
So leading by example, being open to being questioned, but you've got a resilient, transparent workforce who've got a wealth of skills in a global digital age. We just need to harness that, and I think change the way that we approach.
Agreed. And I think if we don't, the danger is you're going to lose talent fast.
That's going to be expensive as well.
It's going to be expensive.
Replacement. Those replacement costs are horrendous.
Yeah.
Engagement, motivation, it's a downward spiral.
For sure. I've enjoyed this.
Yeah, it's been good.
Should we do another one?
Let's do it.
When you get back from...
Well, I'm going to go for a bit of a climb, I think.
Okay.
You went for a run.
I went for a run.
I'm going up. You went long.
I went long, and you're going high.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. So everyone, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of How They Lead. It's been a slightly different one today because Ben and I have been talking about some of the challenges that we're seeing for leaders and business owners in the marketplace right now. We will be back with a normal episode where one of us in the team, or two of us in the team, are interviewing a leader at the forefront of leading people and teams in the business world right now. Give us some comments on this episode. If you'd like to see us doing some more of these sort of conversations, we will.
Some topics as well, suggested topics.
Yeah, give us some topics that you're facing, challenges or opportunities that you'd like us to discuss. And we will do our best effort to kind of do a 360 view of the topic.
Or if you're doing it well, come on and tell us. We're always learning as well. If you think you are doing a certain topic really well in your sector or business, come and join us.
Yeah, for sure. Until the next one, thank you very much. See you later.